The message is that it's great to use firewood, but you should be using it fairly near where it's coming from. So, for instance, in your example, if they go out to the forest with a National Forest firewood collection permit or similar, that's fine as long as you live fairly near that forest. But once you start talking about taking that firewood long distances, so for instance, if you're harvesting firewood in the Lolo National Forest in western Montana and then driving it all the way into Minnesota for a family reunion, that sort of thing can be very damaging, and often it is also illegal.
And why is that, Lee?
Well, there's a few reasons, but the most important one is that for the protection of trees, we don't want to move invasive species very far. Now, invasive species that affect the environment move on their own a little bit, so with their own wings or, their own legs or whatever the particular species is, but they move very, very far when people move them. It's a really similar situation to what we saw on the Yellowstone River with the fish disease problem this summer, where boats could have moved that disease between different bodies of water. In the same way, contaminated firewood could move damaging insects and diseases to new forests.
Okay. Are we talking about things like pine beetles?
So in Montana, one of the insects that you could accidentally move and then kill trees with is the pine beetle. But in other parts of the country, we're talking about other insects, like the emerald ash borer being a particular threat to trees in Montana's cities and neighborhoods, but that insect is not yet in Montana, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Sure. So, what is a safe distance to move firewood? Well, it's like, say, within 50 miles, 100 miles? What?
Yeah, right. It's a hard thing to answer because in some areas you might be actually on a quarantine line, and so the answer could be a very, very short distance, even a mile. But in the vast majority of places, certainly in Montana, within 50 miles is reasonable. Closer would be better, but obviously some places you're not within 50 miles of a forest where you could collect firewood. So shorter is better, closer is better. The nice thing about this message, too, is that we are not against firewood at all, and buying firewood at a local gas station or supermarket or corner store is completely fine. I've done some research on the firewood that comes into Montana stores and is sold at Montana stores, and I've been actually very impressed with how local the firewood supply is as a whole in the state of Montana.
Okay. All right. So if folks want to get more information, do they talk with their regional forester, or where they plan to go get their wood, or what?
If you're planning on collecting firewood or commercially harvesting firewood, definitely talk to a regional forester. If you are concerned about a particular situation, for instance, you've noticed a new insect in your area that you're worried about that you think might be affecting the trees, I always suggest talking to an extension agent. MSU's extension agents are outstanding. I've worked with them a lot, and I find them to be very helpful people. And if you want to look it up on the internet, there is a website. It's don'tmovefirewood.org. The don't doesn't have an apostrophe because it's a website. And you can look up the state of Montana on our map.